Thanks for listening to the Lakers Fast Break podcast, part of the Hoopheads Podcast Network. Check out all their awesome basketball shows today at hoopheadspod.com. Back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Lakers Fast Break, LakerHolics.com, and also the Hoopheads Podcast Network on hoopheadspod.com. And I want to make an announcement coming up in the not-too-distant future. We will be on Sunday nights or Sunday mornings at 4 a.m. Eastern Time, 1 a.m. Pacific Time in the U.S. on Dash Radio. That's right. The Lakers Fast Break is invading Dash Radio. That's coming up in the not-too-distant future. So please go ahead and support us wherever you can. All of our social media, please, we need your help. Already a thumbs up. We cannot thank you enough. Mr. Jamie Sweet, who's going to be joining us here today, plus LakerTom. It is the Lakers. Once again, they played on Easter, and I want to wish, first off, everyone out there a safe and happy Easter. Hopefully you're enjoying it with your family and friends. We know a lot of people are still suffering the effects out there of what's going on with the world indeed. So we truly appreciate everyone out there spending part of your Easter weekend with us. But the Lakers did not have such a happy Easter today right from the get-go. It just seemed like they just could not generate enough offense. I know it just seemed like a broken record, but offense is still the issue with the Lakers. It's not about defense because when you're holding the Clippers to 104 points, that's not too bad. No quarter for them over 30. In fact, none of them actually reached 30. So the Clippers actually did not muster a whole lot of great offense on their own. But when you're only shooting at a horrific 40%, 30% from the three-point area, it just didn't seem like the Lakers could generate or muster enough offense. And the Lakers, unfortunately, lose 104-86. They were never really in the game. It was very disappointing, but not unexpected because this is kind of what we've been seeing lately from the team. But we're hoping for better things coming up. And to talk about the game and what's coming up in the week ahead are two great guests indeed. First up, it is the man behind LakerHolics.com. You got to go ahead and check out what he's doing today at LakerHolics.com. It is LakerTom and LakerTom. Again, I mean, I'm not super bummed about it because this is what you're going to get when you have something like we're seeing without AD, without LeBron, without Andre Drummond. It just seems like this is what you're going to get when you have a team that cannot muster up enough offense.
Well, you know what's really disappointing about the whole thing, Gerald, is they didn't come out ready to play.
No.
They came out like a bunch of guys who came out who realized that the other team had superstars and they didn't have any.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about the first 3.5 minutes. Air ball, wide open three from the corner from KCP to start the game, followed by Gasol missing a layup and then turning the ball over. Schroeder misses a mid-range jumper. And then Morris throws the pass into the backcourt to Kuzma. So all 5 Lakers players in the first 3.5 minutes screwed up. Now that's a sign of a team that's just not ready to play. That's a sign of a team that doesn't have confidence that they can win on any given Sunday. And the results were losing by 20 or 18 points and 19 points and basically losing the three-point shooting situation as they always do, it seems, by 21 points, 7 threes. I'm horrified at the decisions by the front office to ignore the modern game and the three-point shot and to think that they can somehow survive and win another championship without having three-point shooters. This is the modern NBA, Rob Pelinka. Get off of your butt and do something about it when we get to the summertime, because this team is not going to survive the NBA playoffs with this kind of shooting and this kind of role players. We are talking about two superstars surrounded by 13 other players who couldn't start for any other team in the NBA.
Wow.
I'm out.
You're You can tell he's a little on edge after what Jalen Suggs did to his team during the weekend as well. So it wasn't exactly the best.
Basketball gods should be shamed. That was a terrific performance by UCLA, who was the better team the entire game through. And for the basketball gods to allow a shot like that to end it, I'm done with college basketball.
Oh, well, welcome to my world.
You know what, Tom, though, I got to give UCLA a lot of credit, and also the fact that was a fantastic game. It's one of the best college games that's been out there on a high profile in quite some time. Also want to thank so much J. John Sarceda for the heart on Facebook, and also Vincent for the thumbs up as well. We truly appreciate it. But here today to talk about the game. And Laker Tom, I cannot say I blame you, but it's so funny to see your transformation from we believe in Rob, we believe in Rob, we believe in Rob, to get off your butt, Rob, get off your butt.
Well, I've never agreed with a lot of the decisions, but I've always held by the standard that he's a professional. He's got the inside information. I'm nothing but a fan with a big opinion. And so, you can't really compare the decisions that I would make as a fan with the professionals that are sitting there. But all of us have seen across the league, across every sport, these professionals make decisions that the average layman just shakes their head and says, what the heck are you doing? And the formula for winning with LeBron James is to surround him with three-point shooters. The Clippers at least understand that they got 7 guys shooting over 40%. We got 1 guy shooting over 40%. And the only reason he's shooting over 40% is because he won't take any more shots because he doesn't want to lower his percentage. That's Caldwell Pope. It's just beyond me. It just, I don't even want to say it.
Say it. It's the ghost of Mitch Kupchak and Jim Buss.
No, it's even worse than that.
Well, you know what? They do have a world. Well, they do have a world championship behind them. We got to go ahead and give him some credit to go ahead and build a team that worked in 2020 under those circumstances. But you're right, it's not working right now. It's not working at all. And, you see the cracks, which, again, a lot of things that we pointed out before the season, which everybody was saying there's this huge chasm between the Lakers and everybody else. No, there wasn't. And all it took was a couple injuries to the right individuals for it to show. And we're seeing that now. And it's going to be a dogfight. As soon as AD and LeBron get back, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy, but it's something
not
that
easy to come back and with just 8 or 9 games left in the season,
absolutely,
and pull it all together.
Absolutely. I think a lot of Lakers fans.
Let me add one more thing while I'm on a rant here.
Okay.
The other thing that really bothers me is I'm rethinking too all of the logic that said that the Lakers winning in the bubble was a sign of their superiority, because they avoided the best players. They avoided the best superstars in the competition just by the fortuitous nature of the Clippers and the Bucks choking and not even making the conference finals or the NBA finals.
No, they played Harden. He's no slouch.
Yeah, and I think
they played Lillard
on that
team. He's no
they
slouch.
played Harden. They played Lillard. They played Butler with Adebayo. I disagree with that a lot. I think that denigrates a lot of. It can't work both ways. It can't be like a great bubble championship.
Where are the Heat doing now, huh? How are the Heat doing now?
Well, they started rough. They started really rough, and now we're hitting a rough patch. So I would argue that we are having kind of bookend mirror seasons to one another.
You talk about the basketball
we don't have
gods.
Anybody on the team who can step up.
Well, that's obvious.
Obvious. You talked about the basketball gods.
The next man up has disappeared.
Well, you talked about the basketball gods. The basketball gods are not on our side right now. And again, this is a team that was clearly made for 2 individuals to be on the floor with them. And without them, obviously there's a lot there that's missing, especially on the offensive side. But here today to talk about today's game and also what's up in the week ahead is a good man indeed. You got to catch all of his great articles, as 5 things are going to be hopefully on the way. But you got to go ahead and check out his articles. It won't be so great this time.
It won't be so great. I don't know if the 3 of us can come up with 5 great things about the game.
His articles are titled 5 things, not 5
right,
great.
That's right.
Okay,
that's true.
Okay.
That's true. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. 5 things. Great or not, it's just 5 things I noticed. That's it. It's just me.
5 things things. Well, a 5 things article is coming up, and you got to check it out 100%. At Lakerholics.com. And it is Jamie's Suite. And Jamie, again, it's all about the offense. Offense is just something they cannot generate. It just looks very bad. I mean, Kyle Kuzma, who did so well in Sacramento, he's airballing free throws again. It's very embarrassing to see. I mean, the inconsistency is that, that's why you cannot put him on that pedestal. He was talking such a big game a little over a year ago, and he was talking about taking that next step, and you hear all this from him, and then you see all this, and then even after the 30-point game, you hear his comments after the game, and you think, okay, can he take that next step? He's not, and I'm not sure if he ever will consistently, at least on the Lakers, as far as that's concerned.
This has been a great little window into. First off, we have to be realistic. The Lakers are missing 48 points per game in LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You can't just take that out of a team and expect that to magically appear from anywhere. Especially not with a coach like Frank Vogel, who just doesn't have a lot of interest in coaching a dynamic offense. He wants the offense to make the simple reads, make the extra pass. That's a very, that's like high school basketball style things you tell your team. He's not a dynamic offensive coach. He is an extremely dynamic defensive coach. And I think that the Lakers would do well to find an addition to the bench and especially if Jason Kidd gets a job somewhere else, somebody who can come to the bench and find squeeze a little more out of that rock, because I don't think enough has been squeezed. I don't think that we've run anything different since LeBron went down. The offense looks exactly the same, but without a player of that caliber to drag the defense into the paint.
This is Raphael from NBADraftJunkies.com, and you are listening to the Lakers Fast Break.
Hey, hoopheads, we all hate ankle sprains, and they happen way too often. Ankle injuries are the #1 sports-related injury. Arise is trying to change that. With the iFast, your athletes get preventative protection and full mobility. Athletes no longer need to wear bulky braces that limit performance and give mediocre protection. Anyone playing sports should be using these products. Keep your athletes in the game. Don't wait for them to get hurt to take action. Visit www.arise.com, spelled ARYSE, and use the code HOOPHEADS to get 20% off the future of performance. That's ARYSE.com with promo code HOOPHEADS to get 20% off.
You watch a lot of our possessions, and guys, Schroeder, KCP, Caruso, of all of the players on our team, THT is the only one who can get to the rim fairly consistently. The problem being is the level of control he's under when he gets there. But that's a skill that I think he'll develop in the next year or two, which is exactly why I think the Lakers didn't trade him. Whether that was a good idea or not, I tend to think it wasn't, depending on the player we could have gotten. That wouldn't have been a sticking point for me. But again, like Tom said, we are but fans, and there's probably, hopefully, please, some bit of information that we're lacking that Rob has, that he was like, Kyle Lowry, whatever. But anyway, I thought tonight, I wasn't surprised. I was very disappointed in how we started the game. We played great defense tonight. The Clippers didn't even shoot 10 free throws as a team, so we held them to the point total that they had by playing good defense without fouling. Clippers have better shooters. They have their superstars healthy, and they got Patrick Beverley screaming at the other team when they try to shoot threes on the other end. So, all of that, I think, was a big recipe for a Laker loss. And the other thing I think it's important to note is that, Tom brought up the bubble, and so there are actually some similarities as to what's happening right now. There's only one major difference. The difference being the cushion that the team last year had versus the non-cushion this team will have going into the playoffs this year. But we're going to essentially get the same version of LeBron and AD where they come into the playoffs rested. They have what feels like a scant number of games to like tune up their games and get things going with the team. And then everything's going to matter again. I think the Lakers are probably going to be a play-in team. And to be honest, normally I would say that that's a problem. I think for this team, and I know that anything can happen in the game, but I think for this team, extra games are important no matter where they come from, no matter what the stakes are. This team, once AD and LeBron are back, there's not going to be practices. We already know that. So that this team is going to need some time to cohese and to gel. And that's my biggest concern. But I think that if any superstar can walk into a situation like this and make it, any two superstars really, it's not like AD's game is going to change. Like, he's going to come out and play exactly like he's always played. He's going to take shots that are there. He's going to create offense for himself. He's going to play hard on defense. And LeBron James is going to be the same way. Might their jump shots be a bit, or might their legs not have like a lot of minutes in them? No, but, that's kind of a playoff recipe anyway. So I think that, provided we don't fall to 10th place, I think that we're going to be fine. I don't think there's any team that when we're clicking, and I mean, there are 3 players who I'm disappointed who haven't stepped up. Everybody else, I'm kind of okay with it because that's what they don't have big contracts. Not much is ever expected of them, and they are the ultimate role players. So, like the Markieff Morrises, the Carusos, the Matthews, while like I would like for them to play better, I don't really expect them to play better. But for the KCPs, the Schroeders, and the Kuzmas, guys who signed big deals or are looking for big deals, who are trying to show that like they're this next big thing in the NBA, they're not doing it. One of those 3 has to really. Those are your starters, right? Those are the guys who have the ball in their hands the most. Well, in theory, I don't know. I think KCP must be a union guy because I feel like he gets 15-minute breaks where I don't even see what he's doing. I look around the warehouse and there's no KCP anywhere. He's like standing
whether he's in the game or not.
Sometimes, yeah, dude. I mean, it's astounding to me because I felt like he was so active last season. I felt like whenever I saw, and maybe that's what happens when you lose a player like Rajon Rondo, like
or you get a ring and you get a ring in a contract.
Or D, all of the above, right? Like it could, all of those things I think maybe factor into a little bit. I also think that whatever ankle injury he suffered, like within the first 6 weeks of the season, I don't think he's ever come back from it. He doesn't look like he's moving very smoothly out there. He just looks he just doesn't look like KCP from last season in any way, shape, or form. And that's been, to me, the biggest disappointment is either guys who played to a point last season and helped win a ring have regressed. And I would put Caruso in that list as well. I thought Caruso had a much better season last year than he's had this season overall. Yeah. Although that 3-point shot looks like it's rounding back into form. So that could be a good thing, especially when LeBron comes back. If he can get that going for the playoffs, that would be huge. Anybody, I don't care who it is who can get the 3-point shot going. 2 guys need to be able to hit the 3, 1 off the bench, 1 as a starter, or this isn't going anywhere. It doesn't really matter what 2 guys, and I think essentially that's what Vogel and Ra, I mean, that's what they bet the farm on last season. It's not all that surprising to me that that's what they bet the farm on this season. And, we'll see where this goes. I guess we should expect Andre Drummond back on Tuesday, theoretically, right? So we'll see. Theoretically, right? So that could be a little bit of a boost, but I'm not going to lie, I wasn't really wowed, and it's hard to judge him on that in that amount of time. It's a poor thing. It was just a disappointing showing on account of everything. Just another injury.
If he comes back on Tuesday, that is at Toronto, aka Tampa. So they don't have the.
They don't have a center.
Center. Yeah, they
I guess technically they do.
Actually stunk up the joint for all season.
All season.
I think he should be able to go ahead and play decently, if not well, in that game coming up on Tuesday if he's healthy. Francesco Gironda, wearing this shirt is not for these players who played tonight. Save themselves in a few. Kuzma is a disaster. I mean, it's just a matter of consistency, LakerTom. I think he's the one individual I say the most. I know everybody points to Schroeder. I know everybody points to Montrezl Harrell. I thought Montrezl Harrell would come out with more fire today. I was kind of disappointed in seeing his effort because obviously he always should, in theory, knowing his mentality, want to make a statement against the Clippers. But with Kuzma, it's just a matter of I don't know where his head is at from one game to the next.
It's kind of funny because Kuzma basically came out of college and came out of his first year with the Lakers basically as a reputation of a guy who could make buckets. And and that was about all he could do. He wasn't terrible on defense. He didn't really distribute the ball, and didn't rebound. Wasn't a rebounder.
Right, exactly.
So then he gets put in a situation where the Lakers bring in two superstars who play the two positions that he can basically play, the 3 and the 4. And so all of a sudden there's no route to being a starter. So what's the guy do? He goes out and all of a sudden really understands that, okay, if I'm going to be important to this team, if I'm going to get a contract, I got to do the little things that are needed to fit in with LeBron and AD. And I'm not going to worry about starting and so forth. And so he becomes a better defender. He becomes a better rebounder. He becomes a better passer. And the truth of the matter is that those really are the strengths of his game, the diversity that he has. He's not a specialist in that sense. He's a jack of all trades and a master of none. And that, in many ways, is better than most of the other role players the Lakers have, who are masters of nothing but jacks only of 1 or 2 trades. Yeah. They're all flawed players, and the problem that the Lakers have had, and, some of this you can give to the defensive side of the ball because they're not going to bring in guys who don't play defense. Some of it you can bring into the attitude because they're not going to bring guys that aren't team players. And so you see them turn down opportunities left and right through the last 2 years to bring in guys who get buckets, because those guys who gets buckets, there's something about them that doesn't fit with the sort of team first, defense first mentality of the Lakers. And in many ways, I think that has capsulizes what the flaws of the roster are, that they don't have guys who can step up and get buckets when you need them. The players who can do that, they're usually stars who are willing, that come onto a team and are willing to sacrifice and take a lesser role because they want to play on a championship team. And then when needed, they have that ability to come out and get you 25, 30 points a game consistently, because they once were scorers. They proved that in the league. And that's one of the things that I think has been a misjudgment by the Lakers front office, that they did not make sure that we at least had 1 or 2 of those guys, whether they were, and listen, I've probably been on that same side, whether it's been a DeMar DeRozan or a player like that who maybe doesn't fit the mold in a lot of ways, but there are times during a long season and in a playoff situation when those are the difference makers. The guys that you can have will come up and step into it. The guy who was that position last year for us was playoff Rondo. He made such a huge impact in the playoffs that he was the third star. He overshadowed KCP. He became so important. And he's, again, one of those players who has that ability. A guy who's proved it in the past, maybe doesn't do it every day in the regular season, but when you call upon him to do something, when you really need it, he could deliver. And we're going to miss him sorely when we get to the playoffs this year.
We miss him now.
Yeah, and so
just the knowledge he brings to the game.
Roster construction always looks different in retrospect. It's really great to have that rearview mirror to look back there and say, "Whoa, we should have thought about this and that." So my hope is that the Lakers see what's happening now, and win or lose, and this is really important. I mean, win or lose. Even if we win, we cannot forget what we've learned right now about the construction of this roster. We lack shooting. We lack playmaking. We lack rim protection. And if you don't do something this summer to fix those things, whatever championship we won last year, and even if we won this year, will be the last championships that this team will see with LeBron and AD. Because the league is getting tougher. We're putting together, are all improving, and it's going to be hard to go against a team like the Nets with 3 superstars. And you only have 2.
And the window for LeBron is closing. Let's be real about this. The window for LeBron is closing.
2 major injuries 2 years in a row.
2 out of 3 years.
Does it right there.
2 out of 3 years. Yeah. That wasn't somebody fell into LeBron. That's not something LeBron breaking down. Solomon Hill fell into his leg. Like that's very different. I feel like.
Play, man.
Right. It was just a chaotic play.
Your fellow pro athletes.
I mean, he was going for. I didn't fault Solomon Hill for that. I thought he was going for the loose ball. I mean, would it have been nicer if he had kept his balance? 100%. But I mean, we could say the same thing about Lamar Odom rolling into Andrew Bynum's. You know, it happens in basketball.
And Kobe.
Kobe, right? Right. It happened twice to Andrew Bynum, 2 different knees. So those are unmalicious plays. I don't fault Solomon Hill for trying hard. I would want him to try hard on my team.
I fault him for trying hard. I fault him for being reckless with somebody's career.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was intentionally reckless. I think that's LeBron being reckless and that he chooses to play a professional sport.
Intentionally reckless it's careless reckless.
Well, I mean, right now, you know, THT plays with a careless recklessness a lot.
It was a basketball play.
He fighting for the ball. The ball was on the other side of LeBron's legs in that play. I've watched it over a number of times.
I don't think it was a dirty play. I don't think it was a dirty play.
I don't say it was a dirty play. I'm saying it was a reckless play.
Well, it's
when a play that could have injured somebody.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, point is, it happened, and we should
have gotten a flagrant one, just like landing underneath the person's jump shot.
Well, I thought Gasol should have at least gotten an and one on one of his threes today because Zubac came out of nowhere, just crashed into him on the end of a shot. I mean, this is the NBA. These things are going to happen.
After the first 3.5 minutes, I turned the sound off because I just couldn't stand Van Gundy's ramblings and ravings about stupid things that don't matter.
Yeah, I don't listen to ESPN or TNT if I can avoid it. I'm a Spectrum Sportsnet guy, and I'm happy to listen to Stu Lance and Bill McDonald.
Still one of the worst trades of the Rob Pelinka era is the Zubac trade, but we
100%. I mean, the only other thing was like when you let guys. I think the only other worst thing, and I don't think this happened. Well, this kind of happened on Magic's watch. We let Randall walk for nothing. To not get anything for that caliber of player, especially when you see how he's tearing it up in New York right now. You're like, how could you get nothing for that? I mean, for a team that is going to be starved for first round.
He's grown a lot since he left.
Well, and that would be so. Then
he is adopted and evolved from the individual that he was playing for the Lakers. That's
agreed.
We have a parallel with Dennis Schroeder.
I don't think you could have foreseen the way Julius Randle has developed in that fashion, become an all-around player.
He's really become a proficient three-ball shooter.
The three-ball I never saw. I always thought he would be a pretty good playmaking forward and get into the paint.
Free-throw shooter, so you wouldn't really expect him to all of a sudden flourish on the three. And maybe, it could be an outlier. Could be an outlier like Schroeder's three-point shooting last year.
Or KCP's three-point shooting last year.
Yeah.
No, that's the nature of professional. No, that's the nature of professional sports. Things ebb and flow, and sometimes it's season to season, and you just need to take a step away and hit the gym and get your mind back right. When it comes to Kyle, well, that's what I think is going to happen. I think Kyle Kuzma is going to get traded to somebody, and I think it's going to be for, a decent player. I think that the Lakers are probably, and this is the summer, obviously, and it's impossible to say how things will go. And this is probably putting the cart before the horse a little bit in terms of first we have to get through the regular season and the playoffs, and all of that could all of what happens then could change what everybody's saying. But if you were to start the summer today, I think you could pretty much say Kyle Kuzma is going to get traded, and the Lakers aren't going to. If you can, I don't know. Yeah, you can probably package.
It's ballast. It's salary.
Yeah, you have to put KCP and Kuzma together to generate interest. I feel like, and then attach a THT or I don't know what first round pick coming down the pike will be able to actually trade. That's not deferred to New Orleans or.
I don't think they should trade their first round pick.
I don't either. I think they should keep them for as long as they can because they need to restock the farm a little bit.
They're going to trade him. They're going to trade the current one and the 27 one.
But you can't trade the current one yet.
You can't trade the current one. No, you can't.
You're wrong.
You don't understand. It's deferred. No,
I didn't say they wouldn't. I didn't say. Hold on. Time out. I didn't say they wouldn't. I just said that legally they cannot right now because
legally they can't. But they'll make a deal and then it's agreed upon all the time. They just won't consummate the deal until. Same thing with free agency. They make deals all the time where they then shuffle around and decide which one goes first when they finally consummate them at the end of the moratorium.
That's a little Mel Gibson conspiracy theory more for me. I think that the Lakers are going to keep the pick, and it's going to be a player that they'll need down the line. I would say this: if the summer started today, I would definitely be in favor of Kuzma and KCP getting traded. And there's no way I'd pay Dennis Schroeder a penny over $15 million a year. And actually, I predict that he's going to regret not taking that $20 million extension because he's not going to get anything like that if he keeps playing like this. This is not a $20 million, to say nothing of more than $20 million a year player. I mean, it's like saying you would pay Alex Caruso $20 million a year. He's like essentially a little bit better than Alex Caruso right now. Has better handles, gets to the rim, finishes at the rim a little better.
Insulting.
I don't think it is. I mean, they both are cut from the same cloth.
There's a big difference. There's a big difference because, you can't compare them both value wise, because Schroeder is going to get at least $20 million from somebody, probably the Lakers.
Oh, they better not. That'd be the worst money they can spend.
At worst, we'll sign and trade him, because we can sign and trade him away.
That I would love.
And trade you. We just can't bring somebody in who was signed by another team to be traded to us.
Right. Well, you have to get more than $84 million for 4 years, because that's what he was recently offered and passed up.
Well, yeah, sometimes he may not get, Jamie said, if he doesn't play much better.
I don't think he's going to get, I'm telling you.
For 4 years at $19 million.
He's either got to show up huge in the playoffs, right? Because look, he's the point guard. He's the starting point guard. He has the ball in his hands the most. And what has changed about anything that's happened since LeBron went down? Nothing. Like if three guys that are, if the three starters don't have dynamic
games that he was out badly.
Yeah, but I mean, whatever. Like that's an outlier. How many games was he out? Like 5? Three. Right. I mean, a handful of games at best, right? So that's not a very large sample size to be like, oh my gosh, this guy's
replaced. He'll be replaced at point guard.
I sure hope so. I mean, I will say this: as the sole owner and proprietor of Team Run It Back this last summer, I would just like to say we should have run it back, because that's what would have made sense to me last summer. It made sense to me most of the year. It makes sense to me now. If you look at Lakers who are not on the Lakers anymore, how they're playing, aside from Rondo, who did his normal Rajon Rondo thing in the regular season, be like, oh, this knee. Oh, there's no way I could play for the first 2/3 of the season, I don't think. I'm so painful. Now he's going to play great and help the Clippers probably win their first NBA championship.
He didn't look too good today. A lot of turnovers and lousy defense.
Yeah, that's how he looked in the regular season all last year. He would make bonehead plays, but then when it mattered, he locks in. And that's a mentality thing. That's what I don't see. You said it at the beginning of the show. Like the mentality coming out of the gate was wrong. The mentality of the players who aren't stepping up is what's holding them back. It's not that they can't make jump shots. We know that Kuzma can score. We've all seen it. Right. It's not that Schroeder can't be a good point guard. We saw it last season as the backup to Chris Paul. All of these things aren't untrue now that they're Lakers. It's just that they aren't finding it within themselves.
Opportunity with this.
Right. They're not. They're dropping the ball on their chance to shine, and so that's why I don't think that some of these guys. Kuzma's lucky he just signed his extension. AD's lucky he signed his extension in the summer, because there's no way he would have gotten. It would have been very interesting to see what have happened this season if AD had not, the number of games that he's missed, the way that he had to drop down from the season before to this, if he would have gotten as much money as he would have gotten this summer. I think probably he would have, because the Lakers gave away the farm and also Grandma's house and the.
Well, we didn't. We really needed trading pieces. We really needed trading pieces.
100%. And that's why
those salaries are so we could trade for guys who are making more money.
Which we didn't do.
No, I know, which was sad.
which I know drives you mad. It doesn't drive me as mad as it drives you.
It's like Schroeder. If you want to make Schroeder an effective player, you don't pair him with a guy like KCP, who is
right.
You pair him with a guy like Kyle Lowry, who shoots 7 threes a game and can handle the ball, so he can play shooting guard, because he's got speed. He plays good defense. He's got attributes that could really. I mean, and that's a solution that they're going to have to make. If they're going to keep Schroeder, they're going to have to find a real point guard who really.
Well,
shoots
I mean,
the ball.
That's what happens when he plays with LeBron, right? Now he is in essence the off guard. LeBron controls the ball, and then KCP gets to stand in the corner and nobody cares. Now that there's no LeBron, everybody cares that KCP is still standing in the corner. So that's some of this is still, I feel like, on the coaches. I don't feel like the Laker coaching staff has made any adjustments whatsoever to any of the injuries at all. I think we trotted out pretty much the same as we do every game, and I think that's kind of insane. I don't understand why you would do that. Like, if something
like the regular season doesn't matter, let's just get through it.
Yeah, but I think it does matter. I think now that, especially now that there's going to be, I thought it mattered even before I knew fans were going to be in the same, simply from a seating standpoint.
It didn't matter last year.
I mean, I don't think that's true. I think that.
I know. I'm not saying I'm a proponent of that, but
yeah, I think that's. I think there's
an element to that with the Lakers and Frank Vogel.
No, I agree with that.
Shots will start to fall.
Right. The
That
law of
we've done it
averages. The law
before.
of averages is going to be bigger than the law of analytics. I think is how they play the game.
The Nets aren't going to be any bigger challenge than the Heat were.
I honestly, with the way Embiid came back, I'm still calling Philly coming out of the East.
Be a bigger challenge than the Nuggets were.
It's going to be. It might be Clippers 76ers, man. I think that's my call at this point. If you had a
tournament, no problem.
We're signaling the ref for a quick timeout, but we'll be back with more of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Check out what's been going on with the Pop Culture Cosmos Show and the PCC Multiverse.
People are just losing their minds trying to consume Marvel products right now, and I don't blame them. This is some of the best entertainment you can get on TV and big screen right now.
If something's going to be successful or not, they look at the mentions, they look at the likes, they look at the retweets and the tweets and the subtweets and the tweets, and they look at all of that to say, okay, this is actually going to garner a lot of attention.
Is it going to be enough, though? I think the fish out of water syndrome might be enough for somebody like us, because it's going to be hilarious to watch two stoner kids we saw barely make it through high school now live in a society that they fully don't understand because they've been stuck in a decade and never came out of it.
Facebook stars, not ninja stars, okay? I know how some people take things literally, so don't throw ninja stars at us, but like the Facebook stars. Click on those. That's what we want.
That's the Pop Culture Cosmos Show.
And the PCC Multiverse.
Catch our shows on Worldwide Radio 7 days a week and wherever you get your podcasts. Well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, but these guys had a lot to take off their chest. Our own Easter bunnies from LakerHolics.com have had a lot to take off their chest today.
I'm throwing eggs. I'm not hiding eggs. I'm throwing
They're
eggs.
hiding eggs all over the place.
Psychology tour today.
I'm not hiding eggs. I'm throwing
ready
eggs.
for the Raptors.
Actually, if there are any kids right around them that are actually like your daughter, Jamie, that's trying to find eggs, I think you're so mad right now. You're going to find them. You're going to find it before her.
You'll swat them down like all of those ads.
Same thing with your grandkids, Tom. Same thing with your grandkids. You're going to go ahead. You're so
I've
mad.
I've hugged my
now,
grandkids for the first time in
them.
8 months, man, and it was so good.
Nice.
You're going to find the eggs, and then you're going to give them the basket and say, here you go. I did the work for you. I'm so mad right now. The Lakers are making me angry. But
mostly angry at the Bruins game. That's just ever since that game, I've just been on a tirade.
Jalen Suggs is really good. He's actually up on my
list. What? None of those guys
here we go.
On Gonzaga are going to be anything in the NBA. You watch and see. Especially that big center.
I disagree. Okay, Timmy may.
Right. Timmy won't even be a lottery pick.
Timmy's not going to be a lottery pick. He's going to be right around where the Lakers are.
He ain't going to make it. He's going to be a scrub.
He's going to be right around where the Lakers are at. With Timmy, it's up for debate because he doesn't shoot from the outside and he does have foot speed issues.
And he doesn't have any hops, man. He's going to be a scrub.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I didn't say that. But when it comes to Suggs is the real deal. Suggs is absolutely the real deal. I'm not going to hear that on Suggs.
We'll see if his shot is for real. The one guy that impresses me who can shoot on that team is Crispert.
Well, but he's got to be more than one-dimensional. I hope if he can play defense at an elite level or a high level, he's going to be a good 3-and-D player. I'm going to say that right now.
Well, he doesn't play D, though. He's a 3 player.
That's his issue, and he'll have to work on that. But again,
none of those guys could stop any of the Bruins' top 3 guys. They took them one-on-one over and over.
Well, vice versa.
Exposed them.
Vice versa there for the UCLA players as well. They didn't play good defense as well, ultimately.
Yeah, I thought that game actually come down to what I felt should have been a non-call at the end in overtime. I thought that the last call called against UCLA was just like two guys playing hard basketball and should have been a non-call. Then that big shot wouldn't have mattered because it was a 3-pointer. But the momentum, I thought, shifted a little bit there. And I thought, here's the thing: basketball is basketball. Those kind of shots go in. That's what. How many games did Magic Johnson win for us on shots like that? We don't doubt Magic Johnson.
I wouldn't have minded if it had been a swish, but the bank in is like the ultimate.
What are you talking about?
Disrespect for the game.
Oh, but it's not disrespect for the game. What are you talking about? That kid works so much. I'll bet that kid works harder on his jump shot than any of us work on anything at all. Like, come on, man.
He's not Steph Curry. He doesn't go out there and practice those shots.
He's in college. He's taking biology today. Come on, like get off his.
A game like that should not have been decided by a shot like that.
Well, it did, and we'll see what happens Monday in the national championship game. While Jamie and LakerTom are taking Easter eggs, Easter baskets from kids everywhere.
Gerald, I'm not hiding Easter eggs. I'm just flat throwing them. I'm not. There's not the hiding. I skipped the hiding. I'm lobbing grenades today, man. Duck and cover.
My girls are a little too old now. They did color some Easter eggs for some kids from my wife's work and to their families, but I thought that was really cool. But
it's cool.
Yeah, I go, do you want me to hide some eggs, girls? They're like, no, Dad.
No. You should have your kids hide eggs for you and make it like a real challenge.
Put $20 bills.
Yeah, that's going to put $5.
I'll just crack the shell, put salt on it, and eat it because I like boiled eggs.
Me too. That's what I'm saying.
There you go. But anyways, it is the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everybody watching and listening. But before we head on out, I want to go ahead and hit you guys up with this. Not only with 5 things from Jamie's tweet, and also as well LakerTom with his great articles, but the Lakers do have a road trip to go to. This is actually game 2 of the Lakers road trip. They're 5th place right now, 31-19, dropping down in the standings as we expected. They're on for the next week and a half on the road. Yeah. It's kind of concerning for us as Laker fans, starting on Tuesday in Toronto/Tampa. So I want to hear your thoughts, Jamie, on the road ahead. It is, again, they'll be playing, I guess, the next 5 games on the road.
Yeah.
They've got games in Miami, in Brooklyn. It really doesn't get much easier for them right now. And they also have games against the Knicks and Charlotte, who both been playing, depending on which day of the week it is, pretty good and not so good. So I want to hear your thoughts coming up on the next 5 games for the Lakers and how you think they'll do.
I mean, the pessimist/realist in me will say 1-4, but I think that was before Hayward went down. So actually, I would say 2-3 because I think we'll be. That team's. If we lose to Charlotte, as underhanded as they are, then I don't see a lot of hope for any of these guys in the playoffs. That's the kind of game you have to take it upon yourself to go out and win. Not like let the wind come drifting to you from across the ocean, but go out and grab it, yank it down to you and say, you're mine. They didn't come out that way today, and they have to come out like that every game. They're not going to win if they come out like, maybe we just might win today. Huh? That could happen. I don't know.
And Brooklyn, they only have one of their stars. Because that's what they usually do when they see a patsy game that they think they can go ahead and take easily. Is they'll give maybe Kyrie a night off or maybe they've actually even had all 3 stars out for a game. I think it was last week. So
I don't know that Steve Nash will treat this as a patsy game. I think that he wants to it doesn't matter.
Don't have a message by anything because you don't have LeBron and AD. You
don't.
The Clippers statement game today. It doesn't make a statement because you don't have LeBron and AD.
No, but it doesn't make a statement to the public. But it's more for the guys in your locker room. It's more for the
Lakers.
Everybody. That's the first truth. Everybody likes to beat the Lakers. When you say the W's next to the games against the Lakers in your win-loss column, you go, all right. It doesn't matter when we had Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball. You think people didn't love beating the Lakers against the? Yes, of course they did. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter when LeBron's hurt or not hurt. People like to beat the Lakers. But I think that for guys like Reggie Jackson, Zubats, this is a statement game. These are guys who haven't proved anything in the NBA at any level, really, other than they can stick. And, you take little victories with you from the regular season. I think that the regular season is often devalued because of its length. And I think that there are little victories like this that you can take with you. And so if the scrubs from the Nets beat the scrubs from the Lakers, then in a way, that's a statement game about whose scrubs are better, right? Those are the sort of situations that if we come into those arenas and that's how the opponent is gearing up for us and training us, it's more of an insult and more of a denigration on us if we don't step up and take those games from those teams. This is a real chance for the Lakers to redefine their season. Oftentimes on the road, the Lakers have redefined their season. Can it happen this term? I haven't seen very many positive signs indicating that it can, but, we'll get Trey back, so we'll see what that does. I think we're going to beat Toronto. I think we're going to beat Charlotte. I think we're going to lose to New York. I think Julius is going to want to beat up on the Lakers because they let him walk for nothing. And New Jersey's a wild card.
He has to be let go. He has to be.
Who?
He has to leave.
Who?
Julius.
He has to leave the Knicks?
Lakers, not to try to keep him.
Oh, really? Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean you can't get something for him. You know what I mean? Like that's what. Oh, that's nice and all, but that doesn't mean you just be like, all right, you know what? You're the number 7th pick in the draft, and we've spent all these time and resources rehabilitating you and working on your game. But yeah, you get out of here, buddy. See you later. I don't see it, but it is what it is. So there's no sport over crime.
Yeah. But again, it is the Lakers going ahead for the next 5 games out on the road. Laker Tom, you're the eternal optimist, with the guy has been often been accused, usually by me, of having those rose-colored glasses on. But lately, they've not been rose. But you're going 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. All right. See, that's the optimist. I'm going 2 out of 5. I'm going 2 and 3. But what are your thoughts on how you think and where you think the Lakers will win?
Well, I think we're going to beat Toronto. I think we're going to beat New York. And I think we're going to beat Charlotte. All 3 teams don't have any bigs. See, that's the problem with this team. If you go out there and you're facing a team with a superstar, these guys just crawl into their shells and they come out and play like they did the first 3.5 minutes today. But if you come out and you're playing the Kings or you're playing some of these other teams that don't have a superstar, all of a sudden then they feel like, hey, we have a chance, and they'll come out and they'll play a better game. And it's just the personalities that we happen to have on this team. There is no next man up mentality of this team at this point in time. So whenever they feel like they have to be a next man up to win a game, they're going to lose that game. And that's why they're, and the other thing that's funny too is that you don't see teams fall into Jamie's Admiral Akbar treat and have trap games when it's the Lakers.
Oh,
because if the Lakers are missing,
Sacramento fell into it.
Jamie's absolutely right. When the Lakers are missing players, that's not a trap game. That's an opportunity game for them to get revenge.
Sacramento fell into it.
Yeah, but
no, Sacramento didn't fall into it.
Yeah,
Sacramento just wasn't good enough to do it.
I don't know about
just like
that.
the Knicks aren't good enough to do it, and the Raptors aren't good enough to do it. And a lot of it has to do with size. If we go up against a team with size, we have real problems right now.
No.
But, when it comes to Toronto, we don't want to go ahead. I mean, Toronto's just, you don't know what team you're going to get. They've been, for the most part, disappointing, but they do have that 50.
Well, Kyle Lowry will probably have a 40-point game.
Yep. They did have that 53-point win over Golden State recently, so we got to go ahead and keep that in factor, which team will show up as far as it's concerned. But, again, it is the Lakers, unfortunately, getting hammered here on Easter Sunday, 104-86. But that doesn't mean we don't wish you a happy Easter out there, even though we didn't exactly have the happiest Easter with the Lakers. But before we head on out, Laker Tom, you're going to have some angry rants, not only here on the Lakers Fast Break, coming up in the not-too-distant future, but also as well at your awesome site, LakerHolics.com.
My next article is going to be the big trade that the Lakers should have made and need to revisit. Now, I'll leave it at that.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, but again, Laker Tom is going to put a little more. He's got a lot of articles upcoming for LakerHolics.com, plus also catch his site, Medium.com. Also want to thank everybody that was watching and listening from all around the world. We truly appreciate you checking in with us. Once again, this is the Lakers Fast Break. If you have any questions for us, at Lakers Fast Break on Twitter, at LakerTom on Twitter, Jamie Sweet, you can always get a hold of him through us, LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com, or just put a comment today, LakerHolics.com. I do want to again announce that coming up in the not-too-distant future, we will be on Sunday mornings, 4 a.m. Eastern, U.S. time. We'll be on Dash Radio. That's right. We'll be a part of Dash Radio as part of the Hoopheads Podcast Network. Of course, catch all their great shows today at hoopheadspod.com. But once again, yes, go ahead, Laker Tom. Now he said he was abrupt. For the first time ever, he was very abrupt and short, but now he has to say something.
Well, I just wanted to add a couple of things that we made some changes at LakerHolics.com, and Jamie is now the associate publisher of the site. And we have a brand new 5 Things page that has all of his articles there so that you can go back and go back through the history of it and follow those things and replay those articles. There's just a lot of great stuff that you'll find on there. So I want to thank Jamie for his constant participation in the site. He's one of the movers and shakers that really keeps everything going on the site, and I can't thank him enough for all of that participation, and pleased to have him as my partner in publishing the site.
Thank you, Tom. It's very.
Sounds like you should be walking around with an attaché case or something, just right there,
I think,
going into your local Starbucks. I don't know.
I might have one somewhere that I've put old tax forms in there or something.
There, okay, fair enough. You just look busy. Just try to look busy. Make sure you get that office window space that overlooks the city. There you go. All right.
That's what my green screen will be. My green screen will be my office on the 78th floor.
After you eat all the hard-boiled eggs.
That's
but
right.
I guess I'll tell you what, I do want to go ahead and say congratulations to Jamie Sweet, but also LakerTom and all their efforts. Sean Grice, a.k.a. Magic Man. We miss you, brother. I hope everything's well with you out in Canada. No, I'm not even going to try that strange brew.
Yeah, you're right.
I could back when the movie was around in 1983, but I can't do it right now. So I can't do it. But again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate you watching and listening. We'll be back on Tuesday. Plus, I'm also planning this week, if I know we were talking about it, so hopefully we're going to be able to do it. Rafael Barlow, my good friend from NBA Draft Junkies and the man behind the hit show on the Locked On Podcast Network, Locked On NBA Draft. I loved his shows. In fact, he just had on one of my favorite guests, Michael Weisenberg, a Perspective Insight. You got to go ahead and check out their conversation on the Locked On Podcast Network. Please, it's a great listen. And, of course, I'm hopefully going to have him on the show. We're talking about he's going to probably jump on a show this week, so I'm looking forward to that. But, again, we will be back on Tuesday after the Toronto/Tampa game. We'll be there talking about the game. Hopefully it'll be a Lakers win. We'll get back on the right track, but the Lakers do head out on the road to continue their road trip after a 104-86 loss today to the Clippers. But again, we want to wish you a safe and happy Easter from all of us right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.